Let's talk about self-medication this morning. It is something that's not everybody is unaware of, but hey, it is a problem that we have been dealing with, down through the ages in the lives of every one of us who is listening and watching right now. Merriam-Webster describes self-medication as an act or process of medicating oneself, especially without the advice of a physician, also known as self-treatment for chronic coughs. Self-medication with cough remedies is usually inappropriate, and most doctors discourage their use. That's just one example. Let's have this conversation this morning with Yonda Beniga, who is our lifestyle doctor. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure.
How bad is that situation that we just talked about?
Well, I think it's really prevalent of people across board, across the countries of the world. It's not a Nigerian thing. It's across board that people are trying to self-medicate. Now, a lot of things ensure that situation, ensured its prevalence. People are trying to avoid the cost of having to go see a physician, checking in the hospital. They feel I'm intelligent enough to know the symptoms of my body, the signals of my body, and so I should just go ahead and hit myself with whatever I think it's appropriate. I said think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, think.
Okay. Now, there's those who, you've probably just cited one reason for self-medicating. There are those who cite all kinds of reasons why people self-medicate. Any particular reason, or is just something that people do because they can?
Okay, so I think it's more of I understand how my body is, and I think this is what I need. And most times you do that, people get it wrong. There's the other option of, I don't want to drive down to a center, I don't want to talk to anyone, I think it's my beat, I can handle it. But I always want to give this example, there are many conditions, many health conditions, lifestyle diseases, even chronic conditions, show symptoms that are basically the same. I'll give an example. Someone that has an ulcer and someone that has gastritis. Gastritis means stomach itis. Itis is inflammation, gastro is stomach, so gastritis and ulcer. Now, both conditions are occurring in the stomach, but gastritis is inflammation of the stomach. Ulcer is there's an injury, there's a peel, and maybe hydrochloric acid or something is landing on that spot, and the person is having pains. Inflammation, the whole stomach is on fire for one reason or the other. And also can be caused by what we call H. pylori burrowing into the walls of the stomach and peeling that stuff, or maybe just plain not eating. So you have both symptoms as, oh, my tummy, stomach pain and all that. And you sit, someone just goes to the counter and says, oh, my tummy is aching me, and starts to treat. Now, you would keep on treating, but the bacteria, H. pylori, that causes that ulcer will still be having a field day, and you would not get it right. So you can't just self-medicate, especially you need someone to guide you. You need to run tests. You need to know what exactly is the issue. Some countries are saying, I read up an article this morning on PubMed that said, some countries, I think in saner climes are like, okay, you can responsibly self-medicate. Yeah, to an extent, like maybe a headache and something very drastic, just to shut it down before you go seek a doctor or someone who can attend to you. But it's not supposed to be the
norm.
Yeah, the norm. Like, because in that condition I gave, that ulcer, you could continue to treat it, and the bacteria that is causing it is there. It's not being identified. As long as it continues to take antacids, continues to take bicarbonates or whatever it is you're taking, that guy is still there playing and having a field day. And the treatment would never work.
I'm on a website now. As I don't even know what the name of the website is. Forgive me. Okay, so Aspen Ridge Recovery Centers lists 12 causes of self-medication and why people self-medicate. It says 52 million Americans, or 18.5% of the population over the age of 12, have deliberately misused prescription drugs. And he lists self-medication as attempting to deal with past trauma, addressing social anxiety, boredom, change in certain habits, or deliberately influence moods, coping mechanism for mental health conditions, cost of healthcare or substance abuse treatments, dealing with relationship issues, fitting in or peer pressure, influence sleep patterns, maintaining performance for jobs, a stigma surrounding mental health or substance abuse, and trying to navigate life's pressures and hardships. This sounds to me that it is possible for people to self-medicate and not even know.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So because people are dealing with a lot of health challenges across board, mental health issues, just plain pain. So you're thinking, I want to deal with this, and you are thinking the next thing I should do is get to the shelf and pick medication. This even occurs in the supplement sessions too. This is not only drugs, it's across board. Even people who are good in herbs and all that, they still do this abuse. And the unfortunate thing is, I've always been an advocate of checks. If you have been prescribed this medication or this supplement or this whatever it is you've been prescribed, you need, when that tenor of what you've been given has exhausted, you need to go back and get yourself checked and tested. If the disease has progressed or it has regressed, if it has progressed, then you need probably a higher dosing. Or if it has not, if it has regressed, then you need something lower. So you always need that check. You always need to talk to someone who is enlightened about that medication that you're using.
It also looks like people they may not even know the ways in which they self-medicate. There are different forms. According to Healthline, so we can self-medicate with food, self-medicate with alcohol, self-medicate with psychostimulants, with caffeine, with cannabis. I don't know what you want to say about these. I know that you're going to tell us, moderacy is the, but sometimes you don't even know the limits, do you?
Okay, so the thing about, I've seen a lot of abuse. In short, I think people are even more cautious with drug abuse and even supplement abuse.
Oh. Because you don't know that that's also medication, right?
Yeah, but it does have its effects in, there are pharmacokinetical interactions.
Speak English, please.
Pharmacokinetics interactions of those drugs, meaning how they interact. You're currently on a medication, you're taking a supplement, and maybe you're on a blood thinner, and then you're taking some supplements that could also thin your blood, or you are on high blood pressure medication, and you're also on supplements that could help you drop your blood pressure naturally. Okay. I've seen a situation where someone, and I was like, what are you doing? Mixing both? And she had hypertension, so we had like, what are you trying to do? You have to decide. That's like an abuse, actually. Okay. So some people are doing that because they want to have super effects. They want to have the super effects. You can't do that. You can't put yourself on that heavy dosing, because one will work naturally, go into the body and help you normalize. The other will go in and shut down pathways, and you have a double whammy.
Let's explore that a little further. So there is the standard, pharmaceuticals that people use. And then there are supplements that are supposed to do pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you think people know the difference?
So I found out that people don't particularly know the difference. Another thing I would even talk about, I don't know, my mind goes a lot to the supplement. You know, you have people who are downing supplements and are going, this is not working, this is not working. There's some supplements that the bioavailability it can be enhanced. Bioavailability means it's in the blood, okay, but it's not very available for utilization. It's not getting into the cells. Okay, yes. So you do a blood test and wow, it's in your blood, but the cells that need it don't get it. Okay, so yeah.
How does that happen?
It does happen. You could have some that are hydrophilic, hydrophobic, hydrophilic, water-loving, water-hating. Some are oil-based and all that. Some are not even bioavailable unless you take something. That's why I've always said that you can't just take things. You're taking it and you're like, this thing doesn't work, but it's in the bloodstream, it's not getting into the cell because you're not using it in the right combination. There's some that are enhanced by your fat intake. There are some that you need a lot of water to get it active. Same for medications. There are some medications that, you know, if you take this and this together would cause a whole lot of problems.
So what many people don't know.
Yeah, so that's one other thing I was going to say, that when you get either a supplement or you get a medication, there's something in that medication that is called a pamphlet. It will tell you the contraindications, it will tell you the side effects, it will tell you the pharmacokinetics of the medication.
People don't want us to read that thing. It's usually very small, like size 4 fonts or size 8
there for
fonts.
You to read.
For you to not read. That's
a caveat emptor.
You see, it's so tiny, people can hardly see these fonts. And you expect us to squint and look at them? Come on, I'm using glasses.
Use a magnifying lens. Because you need to read it actually. Sometimes you see those side effects can exacerbate your condition or can ameliorate it, whichever one. So you have to take informed decision. That's why that whole problem of self-medication is terrible, because your doctor or whoever is consulting for you knows that at a certain time you're supposed to stop this medication. This thing is supposed to be for only 3 days and you do it for 90 days. Now, it's like, I'll give another example. It's like adrenaline. You see a lion come into the room now and we all take off. That hormone is released into our body as a flight and flee response hormone. As long as you have that thing, so it empowers you to see a lion and jump over the fence and take off. But it's not there for you to have it constantly in your bloodstream, flowing consistently. It comes in rage, anger, you know, or when you're fighting, or sustained or prolonged anger. Now it stays in the body and starts to damage the cells because it's a flight and flee hormone. That's the same thing when you take things that are supposed to be for 3 days and then you take it for 90 days. It stays, it's done its work, and then it starts to do damage. So the adrenaline is there, it starts to cortisol, starts to, the same for the hormone that is released when you are under so much stress, that's cortisol. It stays, constricts your blood vessel, because I mean, it's done its work of constricting so that oxygen is pumped and you're able to jump over the fence. But you're still angry anyway, so the blood vessel remains constricted, and then heart is still pumping normally, the passage for blood to flow is reduced, then the pressure goes up, blood pressure goes up, and the heart is beating very fast. So things like that, stress, adrenaline, things that make you fidget are not supposed to be in the body long term. And there are some medications also like that are not supposed to be in the body long term.
You know, what you just said now reminds me of something that I saw on Twitter in the course, X, in the course of the week. Someone was complaining about what they call energy drinks or something like that, and that you know, that this fellow, and it was quite a thread of people talking about it, you know, that you know, for whatever reason they fell sick from taking them on a sustained level. And I'm first place, I never even had an idea of what it was. But is that the part of, because, you know, part of what we also saw on Healthline just now is that people self-medicate even drinks,
yes,
such as this. Some self-medicate with alcohol without even knowing that it is self-medication.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I think my job is to just elucidate or elaborate on the effects of what they're doing, and then the decision is actually theirs. Okay, so when you have a stimulant, maybe an energy drink or something to stimulate you, you need to look at what is the active ingredient in that drink or in the alcohol, whatever it is you're taking. If you check out the active ingredients, go online, check for the side effects of it, check for the effects of it on your body, on the brain, on your muscles, on your heart, on the kidneys. So you know the effect of what it is you're doing. If you're taking so much sweetened drinks or caffeinated drinks or acidic drinks, in either way, taking it as an antidepressant, you're depressed, that's why you're on alcohol or you're on sweet drinks or you're on stimulants or energy drinks or boosters. Now, what are the side effects? You're putting a lot of pressure on your kidneys. The kidney's job is to filter acids. So it filters the first set you put in, you put another one because you are self-medicating on your drinks or your stimulants or whatever it is. It filters it, you put in another one, it filters it. After a while, it stops filtering very well. It just has, I jokingly say that it has this idea that like you really want me to retain some acids inside me. So it starts to retain some. It retains them in the kidneys, pouches here of acids in the kidney. It's called uric acid. Retains some here, retains another pouch here, retains another pouch, and they form what we call calculi. That's stones. Meaning, because there's no sun to evaporate them anyway, so the acid gathers, uric acid gathers around that kidney and gradually starts to form stones. And then stones, and then kidney stones. And so you will want to check out the effect of those drinks on whatever kind of drink it is, alcohol, whatever it is, on your kidneys. Because the guy who is going to filter any fluid that you put in is the kidney. And of course, if there are other active ingredients there, the next guy, when he finishes filtering or before, who would work on it, who metabolizes. Metabolism is called breakdown. Okay, who does the breakdown is the liver. So you're putting so much stress on the liver with all the self-medications because that guy is the one who will process it. And that's why we always say, oh, the first thing you should do is to go for a clean out, like a detox, because you put those two guys under pressure.
How do you self-medicate with food?
Well, some people binge eat because they want to lose weight, anorexia. I want to be Miss World, so you undereat, and then you have the stomach is empty.
It will come for you. You are saying it's only women that self-medicate.
Then, okay, I once had a friend who will say, oh, when I'm depressed, I eat a lot. And then she goes fat. Or she goes, oh, she says, when I'm stressed, I eat a lot. Yeah, so she just sees burgers, whatever it is, and she eats. So when she's under a lot of pressure, you see her getting fat. Yeah, that's food self-medication. So I think it's important that we put some checks and balances to it. When we need help, we should really get help.
It's interesting that you talked about self-medicating with food in that way, because according to Healthline here, one of the risks of self-medicating with food is decreased self-esteem and worsened depression symptoms. So while you are eating because you are stressed, you are also...
Getting fat. I spoke English.
Help us look for solutions, and possibly maybe I should use alternatives. We've had a psychologist here tell us that this whole thing is about perspectives. It's about what people see or decide to see. If they do not see an alternative or get an alternative to whatever it is that they do, that's the way they will go. But before you go there, help us understand, for pharmaceuticals and maybe even supplements, in some pharmacies and wherever, they have grades for medications. There are those they call OTCs, and there are those that are not OTCs are over the counters that you can just pick, just as you said, painkillers and the rest. But then there are those that are not to be given to anyone unless you have a prescription.
Yeah.
Now, help us understand the challenges we have with that in our climate. I've gone to a pharmacy before to get a particular medication that was recommended to me. But because I didn't have my medication at the time, I went to this particular pharmacy. They said, no, I need to come with the, what's it called?
Prescription.
The prescription. Said, hey, I'm here with you in this city. My medication, my whatever it is in another city. Said, no, I had to come with it that day.
So across the world, the classification for OTC and prescription medications are quite different. Okay. So in some countries, you have some medications are on prescription and some are OTC. But I think in the third world countries, those laws are a little bit lax. Okay, so you get easier access in third world countries. But the truth is, there should actually be some guidelines. If you're...
Sorry, my apologies for butting in. It actually happened in Nigeria. Both cities are in Nigeria. That's what you will find interesting. Well, maybe because, of the kind of whichever pharmacy or whoever the pharmacist was, said, no, you have to come with your... And they are common drugs, but I thought, hey, it's on everybody's lips. Why do I have to come with a prescription?
That's the point, that the regulations are a bit lax across different climes. Yeah. Even within the country, there are some... Look, you could go to a chemist shop and you could go to a pharmacy. Oh. So it's a bit hard to enforce those laws. And like you said, perspective is needed. You need to understand your body. You need to understand what is being treated, and you should always be in close contact with your doctor or whoever is prescribing those medications for you. You didn't have the prescription, they were not going to give it to you because they don't know if you want to self-medicate or you want to abuse, and it's your word against theirs, So I've always been, but generally, I continue to be an advocate of get tested, know what is up, know where you are on the health curve. Where are you? You've been on this thing for 3 days or 15 days or 90 days. Where are you on the health curve? Do you need it reduced so that you have less stress on your kidneys and your liver, or should you increase the dose? Dosing, timing, checks are always very important.
You just spoke to something that I consider very, very important now. Because once certain people get a particular medication, it is good for me. That's it.
No.
For the rest of their lives.
No.
So going beyond the prescription is self-medication.
So for every physician already knows how long they want to be on it.
But the patient doesn't know.
No, so that's why you need to get back to them.
It will cost money.
Yes.
Okay. So, back to the conversation that I wanted to have with you.
Well, it will save a life.
Well, yeah. So the alternatives, what are the things that people need to know to pay attention to as far as their health is concerned?
So I've always, secondly, been an advocate of healthy living. Try to avoid the triggers. There are conditions that will trigger those conditions that you are trying to medicate for. So let's say there's a high blood pressure. You want to ensure that your bad fats are out, your good fats are in, your exercising is in, your swimming is in. You want to ensure that if you've been a victim, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go into that direction again, of all these abuses that we have spoken of, your first bet is a detox, as bad as it is. That's the only thing that will help you get some form of balance, even for even in conditions of, I dare say, mental health, where you have overdosed on those things. The first thing you need to do is get the trigger out. Whatever it is that is triggering the adverse reaction, take it out, put the good thing in, and then you get some form of balance. So for everyone who's been on that, and then of course, nutrients. You need to get your nutrients in, good nutrients. Once you've pulled out the things that are not supposed to be there, because I always say disease is caused by 2 or 3 things. What is there that should not be there? Okay, that's a toxic load. and then what should be there and that is deficient. So as long as you get that balance, that's of course apart from genetic predisposition. Even if you have a predisposition, your genetics is saying, oh, everybody in the family is diabetic. But if you're able to keep that balance of taking out what is not supposed to be there and putting back the things that are there, the body would self-regulate. You know, so as long as that balance is maintained, of course, like I say again, apart from accidents and trauma, things that are beyond your control, once you have that balance, then you should be on auto run. Incidences of maybe mosquito bites or you drank something wrong, all those can be corrected.
Well, I have to thank you this morning for being a part of our conversation once again, helping us to understand a number of things this morning. You know, the sad thing really is people don't know that they self-medicate when they do. For me, that's a major challenge. How do you know you are self-medicating? I'm not talking about drugs or, you know, supplements. How do you know you are self-medicating?
You know, I would want to say that everybody has an internal wiring. You know when you have gone over the board. Okay. There's an internal trigger in you that lets you know. That's the first thing that, this thing I'm doing is wrong. Secondly, by the time you have a prescription from your physician who tells you, use this twice daily, 7 days. 7 days is exhausted, for goodness sake. Why do you want to extend it to 1 year? Like, it works for me, let me use it. You can't see the truth about medicine is that the symptoms of many things are almost alike. Let me give another example. Chest pain. People have chest pain and they conclude, oh my God, this is a heart disease. A lot of things could come up for chest pain. A lot of things.
Just like a lot of things could come up for headaches.
Yeah. So a lot of things could come up for headaches. And that's even a classic example. A headache is a body signal that something is wrong. So you go, take your painkillers and shut down that body signal and say, oh guy, keep quiet. I don't want to know what's wrong. I can handle you, and you shut it down. Sometimes that signal that the body is telling you that something is wrong is either you are dehydrated or an organ is in pain, it's under pressure or something. Get to find out what exactly is responsible for that trigger, that signal that your body is giving you before you shut it down.
Well, interesting perspective there. I have a friend who says when he has a headache, it means he is hungry.
Said so.
Thank you so much for being here again. Yonda Beniga is a lifestyle doctor. Thank you again for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well.